Battalion 1944 is a World War II first-person shooter that sets out to recapture the old Call of Duty 2 gameplay that a lot of people were fond of at the time, and initially launching into early access and final release, the game saw thousands of people playing it and some big-name streamers promoting the game.
I'm done! I'm done! Fucking game is garbage, man! Are you kidding me? Who designed your 1v1 situation?
But after a couple of months, there is a drastic decline in the player base. Heck, some months it could probably be classified as a single player game, but we're gonna look at the potential reasons as to why this happened, because I'm genuinely baffled, because the game is fun. I have fun playing this game and I like it, but the game has currently gone free to play, so you can play it right now. The download isn't that bad and it can run on pretty potato machines, but the game is a shell of its former self, because they decided to remove a lot of things that made it fun, such as the competitive game mode and the ability to play with friends, and one of my favorite features of Drunk Tantu's online experience, and that is VoIP. But we're gonna go back in time to 2016. Battalion 1944 is announced to go to Kickstarter, in which if you visit it in its present day, it's people calling them out for scamming them and people invoking their right to a refund.
Hi, I'm Saul Goodman. Did you know that you have rights?
Now, some people might say that you made a bad investment, but when you promise a whole tier dedicated to consoles all the way back then, and throughout the game's life cycle say that you're working on the console release, and only recently say that people who back the console version are now only going to get a refund because you never went through with it, then it's kind of hard for new people to want to invest in your game because they're not going to trust you. And yet again, who's still alive from back then or has access to those bank cards? But furthermore, on the Kickstarter, they say they're not going to have any microtransactions because you older gentlemen and my younger self, we didn't really grow up with games where you could pay for more stuff, especially in the cosmetics department. But soon after release, they did to some extent stick to their word, but they implemented a skin system similar to CSGO where you can unlock skins and trade them on the marketplace. But in Battalion, the skins, quite frankly, they didn't look that good, and people complained that rather than working on the game and improving it, they were too busy implementing a crate system with skins. And this is apparent in a lot of the dev blogs where they promote these skins. But more so on this topic, on the Kickstarter, they said they would implement a method of customization to your character, and this did include weapon skins, but the ones on the Kickstarter had some historical basis to it, and they actually looked pretty decent. Because if I was a soldier back in World War II and I had a wooden gun, I'm not gonna say that I probably wouldn't have carved like a penis onto the wood or something. Like, hey, wood on wood. I'm stupid, I'm sorry. But there is a high chance that if any of my commanding officers saw me running around with these skins in a battlefield, they would be livid. But the Kickstarter had multiple tiers that ranged from a discount on the game all the way to thousands of dollars that included a tour of the office space. And people did pledge hundreds of dollars to this game. Heck, someone bought an $800 skin signed by Shroud himself. Now, I know it sounds like I'm taking the piss, but I don't want to talk about my gambling habits, so I'm not going to criticize someone for spending that much on a skin. But the main issue is, he didn't end up getting the skin, and other people complained that they didn't get a Steam key when the game released. But moving on to the initial release into early access in 2018, and this is where I feel like the fate of the game was impacted significantly. From day one, there were numerous server issues because they didn't anticipate the sheer amount of people that would have joined. They had spots for around 5,000 people, but over 15,000 people were trying to join, and you can imagine people that paid money to get access to this and not being able to play, they would have been extremely frustrated as a result. And we can see the parallels of this situation to other games such as Arma Reforger. You can say early access this and that, oh, and it's supposed to fund Arma 4, but when people pay money, admittingly more than what it's worth in the case of Reforger, and when you can't play the game due to server issues, people are not going to come back and they are going to review bomb it. I know that sounds shitty, but that's just the reality of the situation. We can see this again for a game such as World War III. server issues going into early access, game dropped off shortly after. Sure, they're trying to revive it now and clearly that's going well, but when we look at BattleBit, the game had server issues. You couldn't play some weeks, sometimes playtests would be cancelled as a result, but that was a free playtest. No one had put any money into the game, except for me and all the other Patreon backers, but we're completely okay with this because we know that if the server fucks up now, then when it goes into early access, then people won't complain because the whole server issues would have been resolved by then. But apparently Battalion had to release into early access because they had ran out of money, but the CEO of Bulkhead actually came out and apologized for the whole server issue conundrum, which is good, but he says he based his server estimation on other game examples and used that as a template. But when you have big name streamers promoting the game, as well as numerous articles being written about it, I'd say it was a pretty poor assumption, but obviously this is in hindsight. But following the week of the early access release, people claimed they tried to get into games and failed, the XP system was broken, matchmaking was broken, people being promised things from Kickstarter that they never got. Apparently there were hackers, but while this could be true, it might also be from a medical condition called skill issue. I'm a chronic sufferer of it, don't worry.
Yep, that's it. I'm gonna kill myself.
But regardless, going into early access, the game was met with substantial negative feedback, nearly outweighing the positive reviews of the game. But this is early access. Surely things can get better. Well, not really. While the devs tried to improve and update the game, the player base just declined month after month until 2019 when it entered its final release. But before the full release of the game in 2019, in late 2018, Square Enix acquired 20% of Bulkhead. This means they got a cash flow and the backing of a large publisher, but going into its final release, the game only managed to get back a fraction of its player base. And why was this? Surely the game was new and improved. Well, there was a whole petition, mind you, this is back in 2017, because they removed the South American servers and they wanted to bring those servers back, and they even created a petition calling out the CEO of Bulkhead because he said something that probably wasn't an appropriate thing to say. But there was also some interesting gameplay decisions, one being if you party up with your friends, then the game will make you play against your friends, and apparently the reasoning was to keep things balanced, because when I play CSGO, sometimes you'll encounter a 5-man stack who are like MG1s or a significantly higher rank than you, and you get stomped on. It makes me frustrated, but I mean, if they want to have fun and play with their friends, then they should be allowed to do that. I shouldn't have to play against my friends. But I did reach out to a couple of people that played the game upon release, and this is what they said. Apparently there was plenty to grind for because they did have a free battle pass where you could unlock skins with, but due to the Faceit integration for the competitive game mode, you couldn't connect to servers sometimes, or you were outright kicked. Voice chat wouldn't work sometimes, and these issues prolonged for a while before they were fixed. And if things aren't fixed immediately or within a healthy time span, then people are just gonna not play this game and move on to something else, which back in 2018, CSGO went for free. Or better yet, people could just go back and play Call of Duty 2, which is what the game was initially supposed to be a recreation of. People still play those games and they're still fun, but I feel like another issue of this game is the community expectations. People had different expectations of what they thought this game was going to be like. Some people thought it was going to be like Day of Defeat and have a much more slower gameplay style. Some people were expecting a Call of Duty 2 type gameplay, but one thing that pissed a lot of people off, and that was the jump shot in Car 98s. Seriously, it's insane. People would say that the jump shot in Car 98s were annoying, and they eventually did nerf it, but I mean, I can still do it in the Legacy version of the game. But to sum it up, the game is fun. I genuinely like playing it, and I can imagine back when it had a competitive scene, I probably would have liked it. But when you have these issues in an early access launch, you can spin it and say, oh, it's early access, you know, they're indie, they're trying their best. The average gamer isn't unfortunately gonna think like that, and they are going to review bomb it, and they're simply either gonna refund it or move on and complain, and there's just not much you can really do about it, unfortunately. But nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed today's video, because if you did, please do consider leaving a like, subscribing, sharing the video with your friends. Anyways, my name is Tan2, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.